These night owls work for the sanitation department in Cologne. At the wheel is Guresma. In the back are Alex, Kevin, and Andy. They are starting a night shift. At 11 p.m., the streets are empty. Most people are in bed. Guresma says he enjoys working nights. He actually volunteers to work unsociable hours and swapped with a colleague to do this shift. Alex is not quite as enthusiastic. He says working nights is okay if you take it easy during the day. Their first task is to empty the litter bins in the city center. In the nightlife district, which is full of bars, cafes, and clubs. These men do important work, whatever the weather, in the dead of night. People have always worked odd hours in big cities, but in recent years, night work has become much more widespread. Doctors say a lack of sunlight can shorten lives, and too much night work can impair the immune system. Alex can't understand why people are so thoughtless, especially under the cover of darkness. Here's a waste bin, right here. But look at all the trash lying around. After an hour's work, the trio take a brief coffee break. Alex, Kevin, and Andy don't have families, so they can pretty much keep the hours they want to. They say the advantage of working at night is that it's quieter and calmer and not so crowded. Alex says he enjoys the fresh air, being out and about rather than sitting cooped up in a stuffy office. It is easier to work and to stay awake outdoors. At midnight, they're joined by more colleagues, and together they sweep the streets. By 2 a.m., the city center will be spick and span, thanks to the hard work of these dedicated young men. How many years can you work nights before it really gets you down or makes you sick? I go to see one of Germany's best-known night owls. Jürgen Domian, who hosts a late-night call-in show that's broadcast both on the radio and on television. He and his callers talk about all kinds of rather intimate problems. Nights can be lonely. Callers pour out their hearts. It's an hour to show time. There's no specific topic tonight. The callers can talk about whatever they want. The atmosphere at the studio is very friendly, surprisingly so. Perhaps working nights brings people together. There are psychologists on duty as well. Some callers are in a bad way and need serious help. Domian shows me around. Here's the control room and his studio. The light is warm and cozy, for a reason, no doubt. The lighting and the decor make a real difference, Domian tells me. The warm colors, the red backdrop, and the ornaments in the studio, such as the white deer, are important. Domian says the deer is as much a part of the show as he is. 30 minutes to showtime. I ask Jürgen Domian about his health. He's been carrying out his nocturnal duties for 17 years now. How does he manage? He tells me he is by nature a night owl. Even when I have time off or go on a holiday, I like to be up late. I love the night. When I had to get up early, it was hard. I tried to adapt but failed. To do what I do, you have to be very disciplined. I go to bed at a specific time and sleep late into the day. I don't drink much, and I try to eat well and do a lot of exercise. During the summer, I have a long break, thank God. Time to regenerate. But it's pretty weird for me to start the day off at 8:30 in the morning. I'm usually fast asleep at that time. Domian's colleagues tell me they enjoy working on the show, but the hours do certainly take their toll. People who switch back and forth between daytime and nighttime shifts often say their memory suffers. They can't concentrate as well, and their hands shake. Just before Domian goes on air at 1 a.m., we say goodbye. It's showtime. A woman named Regina calls in. Domian asks what's on her mind.
Ich bin verbunden mit Regina und Regina ist 58. Hallo Regina.
Hallo Domian.
Hallo Regina. Was geht's bei dir?
Ja, die...
She says she's upset about her husband's obsession with sex.
Gerade das, was alles heimlich
Not with her,
Ich hab das erst
but
auch
what he gets up to in secret.
was da ablief.
Sex, relationships, personal crises, they're the stuff of Domian's late-night talk show. I leave the studio and head to my next appointment with Maya, a young doctor at a hospital beside the Rhine. It's just after 2, and Maya has been on duty for 18 hours already.
Hallo.
A young Englishman has just shown up. He was at a party.
Everything's all right? How are you feeling? Okay. Did you drink alcohol or did you take drugs? Alcohol? Okay. Could you do me a favor and please look into the light?
Paramedics Kai and Jens have to help. The reveler is in a bad state.
Close your eyes.
The paramedics are busy and head back out. Maya and her colleague Mandy are responsible for almost 300 patients. They work together closely. They also have to catch up on paperwork.
In Köln, wir liegen zwischen Hauptbahnhof.
Maya explains that the hospital is located between the main station, the nightlife district, and a spot where drug dealers and users hang out.
Auch sehr viele in der Nacht, am Wochenende vor allen Dingen von den
At
Leuten.
night, she treats many homeless people,
Leute ohne festen
young
Wohnsitz,
people out
junge
partying,
Leute, die feiern
who don't know their
gehen,
limits,
halt auch häufig,
and drug addicts.
oder drogenkonsumierende Menschen. Also wir haben alles.
It's late, but more and more patients show up. This is a young tourist from Spain. She's also in bad shape. Mandy tends to her. Maya has to leave the emergency room to go see an inpatient in one of the wards.
Okay, ja, dann komme ich gleich mal vorbei. Okay, danke. Tschüss. Ich mache jetzt seit wann mache ich
She tells me she's been working here for 9 months now. During one 24-hour shift, she got just 4 hours rest. And even then, her pager kept going off. She always gets 1 or 2 calls. Nurses checking on medication. It's very rare for her to get even a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. Teamwork and politeness help the nurses and doctors get through their long nights. During the work week, there's no time for a private life. Maya says she only has time for a relationship at the weekend. At this stage in her career, children are out of the question. After so many hours on duty, she has to concentrate all the harder. When you're exhausted, it's easy to make mistakes.
Am Anfang, als ich angefangen habe mit 24-Stunden-Diensten. Wenn ich morgens noch Sport machen kann.
Maya tells me that when she started doing these 24-hour shifts, she would go to the gym afterwards. She discovered that if she went straight home to bed, she'd relive the entire night in a very odd kind of slumber. And she would wake up with a start, not knowing where she was. Troubling situations would come back to haunt her. At 5, the 2 paramedics are back. The English patient wants to get up and leave. The Spanish woman is fast asleep. Things are quieting down, so Maya decides to take a break after 22 hours on the go. She is, of course, exhausted. She says the surgeon is asleep next door. She has her own room. The sight of a bed makes me feel tired too. I marvel at the endurance and stamina of the street sweepers, chat show hosts, and doctors working through the night. But just minutes after she goes to lie down, Mandy needs her again. She laughingly says it's not fair and returns to the job without catching a wink of sleep. She has to go back to the emergency room to see a new patient. Dawn is breaking, and I'm exhausted too. Instead of having breakfast and greeting the new day, I'm off to bed.